Happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen. It's Lettermen Row. That's Mick Walker on the other side of your screen. I'm Spencer Holbrook. We are here to talk about Ohio State recruiting because, Mick, the Bucks might be on fire. I'm not sure yet. I don't know if maybe they're just smoldering. Maybe there's just a little bit of smoke smell in the air. But there's something going on with Ohio State football recruiting right now. The Buckeyes are landing prospects. They're landing offensive linemen. The recruiting strategy on that side of the ball and with that position group is changing under a new position coach. It is an exciting time to be an Ohio State football recruiting fan or follower or even reporter. And that's why I've got the ace reporter, the crack reporter, Mick Walker on the other side of the screen. Mick, how are you? Happy Friday. Thanks for joining the program here.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Obviously, I'm a lot happier now that I'm not on the Pennsylvania Turnpike trying to drive from New Jersey and Philadelphia back and forth from home, waiting on guys to commit while we're driving. But, we pulled off the side of the road, got the stories out, made sure things were covered. So we're having a good day. I think Tyler Bowen's been having a good week, and so is Ohio State and Ryan Day.
Yeah, we're going to get to all of that and more on the Ohio State recruiting front. But first, I got to tell you about our friends. You know them, you love them, over at the Big Game Football Factory. It's got the gray fractal swoosh, the college ball playoff logo, the Ohio State logo. You can commemorate Ohio State's epic national championship run with this once-in-a-lifetime limited edition football. It's the actual football that was designed specifically for Ohio State on its national championship run. This is the exact ball, what it looked like when the Buckeyes were beating up on Notre Dame just a few months ago over there in Atlanta. I've got my ATL stuff behind me right here, and I've got this football to commemorate the Ohio State national championship run. High and tight, as always. Go to biggameusa.com/Buckeyes, biggameusa.com/Buckeyes. Get your hands on one of these beautiful footballs right now. It's the same football Will Howard was chucking around. It's the same football Quinshon Judkins was taking in the end zone. Of course, it's the same football that Jack Sawyer scooped in. No, that was a Texas football that Jack Sawyer scooped and scored. It was the same football that Will Howard threw to Jeremiah Smith like crazy in the Rose Bowl, and it can be yours at biggameusa.com/Buckeyes. Get your hands on one of those footballs today with the premium leather, that fractal swoosh. Of course, the Buckeyes got to use that Nike swoosh. And all the other fixings on that football, it looks fantastic. Who's going to be playing football for Ohio State in the future, Mick? We've got a lot to break down here. Like I said, a busy week for Ohio State on the recruiting trail. A busy week of commitments. Obviously, not just with the football team either. Gabe Cup's committed to the basketball program. Like, there's a lot of momentum right now in Ohio State athletics overall. Let's talk first about Sam Greer, Mick, offensive tackle from Archbishop Hoban. They're in Akron, in-state guy, top priority target for Ohio State across multiple offensive line recruiting staffs. And now he's in the fold. He's in the boat. The Buckeyes got a good one here.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that he is Paris Johnson Jr. because I don't know if we'll ever see a guy like that come again along the offensive line. But he's the best tackle prospect that Ohio State has signed or landed since Paris Johnson Jr. He's 6'8", 290 pounds. Led Hoban to a state championship in basketball as a freshman just simply because he was ginormous and has smooth feet with some good post moves. He's a freak athlete for his size, and like you said, I think he was a top target for Justin Fry. I think he's been a top target for Tyler Bowen. And Sam just decided on what would that have been, Tuesday afternoon that he was going to drive on down to Columbus with his entire family and tell Tyler Bowen in person that, hey, we're going to get this thing done. We're going to commit to Ohio State. Hayes Fawcett from On3 tweets out the graphic later, and now Tyler Bowen is up to 2 in-state offensive line commits in the 2026 class.
Yeah, the other obviously being Max Riley, who committed a week, was it last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, got in the fold himself. Tyler Bowen immediately getting to work on those in-state connections. The Greer thing is interesting to me because I thought that might be not slipping away from Ohio State, but just getting more and more interesting as time went on. I think that the sooner Ohio State could get that thing wrapped up, the better. What do you think there? Because I thought that if they just kept letting that linger and let other programs kind of loiter around the state of Ohio, that maybe Sam was going to jump out of the fence and go elsewhere.
Yeah, I think it's a fair statement. Like, he visited Missouri earlier this month. He visited Michigan slightly before he committed to Ohio State. Like, he was definitely doing his research, but like I told an Ohio State source a couple weeks ago after I stopped by Hoban to visit with Sam, is that, hey, so long as Tyler Bowen just continues to build this relationship with Sam, I think it's going to end up in Ohio State's favor. Obviously, they continue to do that. He got down for that visit, got to see Tyler Bowen coach, got to watch Charlie Dickey coach, Marcus Johnson coach. Like, all 3 offensive line coaches kind of played a role in getting them down to campus, build a certain level of comfort with the coaching staff that's now in place down there in Columbus. And he obviously felt comfortable with it enough to commit to Ohio State, which is what he did earlier this week. And I told Sam multiple times when I saw him throughout this past year that he probably wasn't going to make it this summer like he always told me. And what do you know? Most of these guys do get tired in the spring. He ended up committing in April, or no, March.
Still March.
Still March, almost April, but he ended up committing in March a couple months before he was working on official visits. I know things were very much in the works, and I was even told that June 20th to the 22nd was going to be when he would be on campus for Ohio State that last weekend. Obviously, he could still be on campus, but it's going to be as a commit this time.
Yeah, that's big because now every time Ohio State hosts one of these offensive line days or host any offensive lineman, hey, Sam, can you get down here and help us some peer recruiting? Hey, Max Riley, can you come down here and help us with some peer recruiting? I think that's a good thing for Ohio State. Ohio State's done that at multiple positions. They haven't really been able to do that on the offensive line at any point here in the last few years. And now they've got that where the in-state nucleus is already there. They can really bring guys in from around the country and say, hey, this is the offensive line that we're putting together, which is exactly what they did after they landed a commitment from Max Riley, after they landed a commitment from Sam Greer. They go out to Arizona and land an underrated prospect. By the way, Sam Greer, the number 99 prospect in the nation, the 12th ranked tackle, 4th ranked player in the state of Ohio. On 3, higher on him than anybody else in the industry. Everyone else has him in like the top 250. I think ESPN has him at 249. So exactly in the top 250. But on 3 is higher on him than everybody else. I imagine now that Sam is committed to Ohio State, he will get a little bit more of an evaluation from these guys and could potentially see maybe they'll do some evaluations and maybe he'll drop a little bit in the ranks. We don't know, but I'm sure he'll get a second look now that he's in the Ohio State class. But then the Buckeyes go out after Max Riley. They go out after Sam Greer, and they land their first national offensive tackle prospect in quite some time, Nick. Tucker Smith. He's listed as an interior offensive lineman at on 3. I look at him as a tackle. I think he could probably do a little bit of both. He's the number 738 ranked player in the country. He's the number 68 interior offensive lineman. He's the number 10 player in the state of Arizona. But make no mistake, Ohio State really, really likes this 3-star kid that they got out of Sandra Day O'Connor School out there in Phoenix.
Yeah, like you said, I think for most, the best way to go about any offensive line recruiting is they're a tackle until they're not. Like, get them on campus to Columbus, start him out at tackle. Okay, he's not able to stay at tackle. We'll slide him into guard. Max Riley, I think he'll probably start at guard and maybe slide to center if they need to do something like that. But the more I've learned about Tucker Smith, the bigger I am of a fan. He's a wrestler. He's a guy that has a lot of mobility when it comes to just getting out of his stance, pulling on different sets, whether it's from tackle or guard. Like, he played 3 or 4 different positions as a junior. He also did a good job on screens of getting downfield. He's got a clip in there, which is kind of similar to what some of the offensive linemen did on Travion Henderson's 75-yard screen, where he had that great fractal swoosh football from a Big Game Football Factory in his right hand, I believe, toting the rock high and tight, just like Carlos Loughlin tells him. But as for Tyler Bowen, I think he's somebody that is really high on Tucker Smith. Like you said, Charlie Dickey played a big role in this. Charlie Dickey was the second offensive line coach to offer him when he was at Oklahoma State, and they've continued to have that relationship and help kind of make Tucker more comfortable there with Ohio State. But overall, and Tom Lemming, not Tom Luginbull, both do great jobs with recruiting, but Tom Lemming posted a clip of Tucker Smith recently kind of talking about his commitment on Twitter. He decided, kind of getting there for the comfortability with Columbus, being on campus. And I think that all makes sense, just hearing how he's talked about Ohio State, hearing how what I've heard from Max and Sam about their relationship with Tucker. It all seemed to make sense now after the fact, but it certainly caught both of us by surprise when it did happen.
Yeah, I mean, good-looking prospect. I mean, you see a really tall kid in the picture with Ryan Day, looks pretty stocky. He's wearing the boots. It's like, okay, that looks like an offensive lineman, all right? Like, you at least have some clay to mold there, and I think that's something that Ohio State wants more of. Justin Fry had this, as good as he was as developing guys once they got to Ohio State, he had a very narrow recruiting focus, would dial in like a laser on a couple guys here and there if he missed, and Ohio State was kind of SOL. And that's just the reality of it. This new recruiting strategy, they've offered so many more guys. We've talked about this on 2 different episodes already since this started happening here in the last few weeks. But they offer so many more guys. They're bringing in, projects. They're bringing in a couple of guys that maybe people are surprised by, but at the same time, like, they're going to end up, trying to develop, different body types, different players, and have just more of a long-term vision, I guess, in the recruiting department, cycle wide for what they want out of this class. It's not just, hey, let's go try to get Jordan Seaton, and if we miss, we don't have a tackle. Hey, let's focus in on, David Sanders, and if we miss, there's not really a plan B. I think there's multiple plan Bs here, and there's even plans to, stack guys on top of the class that they already have. They've already got 2 guys that they could see as tackles in this class, but that's not going to stop them from going out for Felix Ojo. That's not going to stop them from going out for these highly, highly ranked national recruiting prospects. Like, I'm excited to see where this goes from here because it's clear that Tyler Bowen has some momentum on the recruiting trail. I think it's safe to say he's got the juice, Mick.
He does. And like you said, it just goes back to strategy. Like we were spitballing on the Lettermen Lounge message board, $1 for your first week to get on there and start spitballing with us about Ohio State recruiting, like we like to tend to do often. And if you look at this class right now, like you said, Max Riley, Tucker Smith, Sam Gurry, your first 3 commits in the class. Beyond that, they had Evan Goodwin, who's a 6'7", 300-pound offensive lineman from Arkansas on campus on Wednesday. I think his visit went really well. He was in there for multiple days, got to meet with the coaching staff, have dinner with the coaching staff, kind of spend some time with them. Would not be surprised if Ohio State starts trending coming out of that visit. And so you have him, you have Drew Evers that's going to come on to campus here in a few weeks. It's set up an official visit to Ohio State for the summer out of Flower Mound, Texas, a 4-star guy. He could be the center in this class, and I think Ohio State's well positioned with them. They're kind of fighting Texas A&M, but maybe if Drew has a pull to leave the state of Texas like his brother did, who's currently the starting quarterback at UConn, maybe that tends to favor Ohio State. He's another guy that could get in the class. And then you have Champ Smith, Micah Smith from Vero Beach, Florida, who visited for the Buckeyes' first spring practice. I fully believe Ohio State leads for that in that recruitment. TJ Alford, his teammate, spoke to the media for the first time yesterday before TJ stepped up to the table, the podium, whatever we want to call it. I was talking with him a little bit about Champ. He doesn't really have, there's no real timeline or anything for Champ right now, but I think Ohio State's very squarely, if not at the top, in that top group. So then if we take that and we take a name or 2 out, then you're looking at probably 5 or 6 guys conceivably that they could land. And it's like, well, I could talk you into having that class pretty easily. Then you have, like you said, Felix Ojo. You have some of these other out-of-state guys, Darius Gray, PJ Dean from North Carolina. There's several guys that are coming on campus or about to come on campus that they are high on the list, that maybe they haven't even visited Ohio State yet. So if you add those 4 or 5 guys that they're in good position with now, you get more guys on campus. Like, it feels like there's at least a really high floor when it comes to the number of prospects they'll take in this class, which is what Ohio State needs to do every cycle, but especially needs to do after only landing 3 in this previous cycle.
Yeah, just resetting the room, man, and continuing to bring in talent. And Tyler Bowen's going to, again, like I said, I think the best word to use here, he's going to have a lot of clay to mold, whether it's high-level clay, whether it's some underrated clay. I don't know if there is such thing as underrated clay. I do like getting on the wheel and spinning some clay. I did it in high school. I did a pottery class not too long ago here in Columbus, but Tyler Bowen's going to have a lot of clay to spin and a lot of clay to mold here because he's just bringing in a lot of guys. I think this could be a 6 or 7 man offensive line class for Bowen just to kind of reset that room. And you have your veterans who are already established there, but then he can start developing the talent behind them to make this room one of the best and to make it the best and the deepest room in the country. That's the goal there. That's what Bowen is tasked to do now in replacing Justin Fry. Let's turn the page here, Mick. Obviously, we've got a lot to get through here. Just some visitors from this week. I want to talk just about one in particular, and then I'd like to get to your stuff about your travels through Pennsylvania and into New Jersey. Favoraki, running back, Ohio State, starting to heat up in that battle. Recently offered. He was at Miami, then he was at Ohio State, then he was, he's been to Ohio State a couple different times. What are you hearing on Favoraki as a running back, and where does he kind of fit into this running back board? Because it seems like the Buckeyes are so high on some of these very, very top of the board offensive linemen nationally that maybe we forget about the guy from Delaware Hayes who's right in their backyard. But if things go the Buckeyes' way, like, where does he fall in the board here?
Yeah, I think he's near the top of it. I don't know if he is the top guy. I think the top guy probably would be Savion Hyder, who's going to visit this weekend after visiting for a game day visit. I think Ohio State is going to go to far lengths to try and get Savion Hyder in this class and beyond that. There's Derek Cooper from Chaminade Madonna Prep, which is the high school of Jeremiah Smith down there in Florida. Ohio State's really high on him. They're battling. Georgia's in both those recruitments. I think Georgia's probably more of a factor for Derek Cooper than they are for Savion Hyder. But Michigan and Tennessee are both up there for Savion Hyder as well. Beyond those two, I think you can make a case Favoraki is, whether he's right next to Cooper or he's right behind Cooper, he's top 3, top 4 guy on Ohio State's board. That's why they offered him. That's why Ryan Day made the decision to offer the in-state prospect when he visited on March 17th for that first spring practice. And like you said, he made that visit. Ohio State started trending. It's okay. He's going to go to Miami now. I think he really enjoyed his trip to Coral Gables, but then he lands in Miami. He lands in Columbus at midnight, and he texts the Ohio State coaching staff, "Can I still come to practice today on Wednesday?" What does he do? Wake up at 8 a.m. to drive down to Columbus to be at Ohio State's practice on just about 6, 7, 8 hours of sleep, which is kind of shows you what he feels and what he thinks about Ohio State. It's also worth noting that his his father and his brother were back down there with him. I don't believe his father was with him on that first visit this spring. So to have his father with him on this visit was on another notable step. Bring those parents on, kind of make it a little bit more, make everybody in the family feel more certain about the decision. I don't know if any decision's been reached, but it's just having more data points for all the parents and all people that are going to be making this decision is kind of where I think favors out right now. That's why you do the Miami visit. I don't know if he's still going to make the USC visit, but I think it's Ohio State, Miami for that top group right now. And I could see the Buckeyes being squarely in the lead for that.
Just interesting, man. That running back board has my attention. It had my curiosity. Now it has my attention because an in-state guy has entered the fold. Do the Buckeyes take 2? Do they take 3? Do they take 1? Like, we just don't know what this board is going to be. Carlos Loughlin kind of likes to move in silence a little bit. And so, you have an idea of who's on the board, but as far as the pecking order, as far as like, when things could happen, what dominoes are going to fall and when, it's kind of a, I think it's a well-kept secret. I'm sure you have a little bit of intel that and we appreciate you for dishing out any that you can provide. So thanks, Mick, for that. Last thing I want to get to before we get out of here, don't want to keep people too long. Let's go like 20, 25 minutes here. You went to Pennsylvania. You went to New Jersey. You didn't get a Philly cheesesteak. Severely disappointed in you for that. But you were over in New Jersey near the ocean. You didn't even go to the ocean either. To be honest, folks, we're really not sure, other than just talking to recruits, what Mick did. Because all of the tourist things that he could have done in just a couple minutes, he didn't do any of them. So kudos to you, Mick, for staying on the job throughout your entire travels. How were your travels? And who did you see?
Yeah, so the travels are obviously good. Like I said, it's not fun when we're driving 70 down the turnpike and you get a text that, hey, Tucker Smith's going to commit in a couple minutes. So you got to quickly find an exit and get that written and get that published. But we did that. We got it all figured out. So that was probably the most interesting thing about the travels, like literally driving. But as for the other travels, when we stopped at 9 different schools across Pennsylvania and New Jersey, including Bergen Catholic, with 4-star cornerback Jordan Thomas. You have Demarion Simeon out of St. Augustine Prep down there in South Jersey, who's going to visit Ohio State soon. Jackson Ford out of Malvern Prep in Pennsylvania, who's going to visit Ohio State next week. Like, there's a handful of 26 guys that we visited and saw that I visited and saw that I think Ohio State is in position to make big moves for this spring. And it was good to kind of get to meet with them before that happened, because it was good to hear what their perspectives are going into those visits.
Did you get the sense that Ohio State is currently leading for any of these prospects?
Yeah, I think AG and I talked about it coming out of Jordan Thomas's visit for that first spring practice. I think it was, maybe Ohio State does lead. I think after talking to him, I would say Ohio State leads. That's not something he explicitly told me. He's going to go to Michigan this weekend. I think the Wolverines are a big threat. But I also understand that Tim Walton has done a really good job in this recruitment, not only with Jordan, but with his mom and his dad. His dad visited with him last time. I think his mom has visited Ohio State, and she could visit Ohio State again, because Jordan made it pretty clear to me that he's looking to visit Ohio State again this spring. Not necessarily for the spring game, which is kind of like the spring showcase, which everybody kind of points to as a big recruiting weekend. He said he just wanted to come for another practice. I think that could be that first or second week of April, just kind of getting in for another practice to see things, which would be big if he visits Michigan and then comes back to Ohio State for a second time. He mentioned to our Alex Kleitman after his first visit to Ohio State that, hey, while I was looking at official visits in the summer, a summer decision, I could be entertaining a summer spring commitment, which if you get the guy on campus twice in the spring and then you have a spring commitment, that would be good signs for Ohio State landing Jordan Thomas, but there's still work to be done. Yeah,
I mean, it's the Brian Windhorst meme.
Couple of bad days for our guy Brian Windhorst out of St. Mary's High School in Akron, but he's doing better.
There we go. That's right. Akron is just buzzing, man. LeBron's going on McAfee. Windhorst getting called out. Sam Greer's committing to Ohio State. I mean, what more could you ask for? The city of Akron. It's crazy, man. It's going nuts.
Nothing.
Isn't there an Akron kid that just committed to Louisville too?
Yeah, Peyton Cook, another Hoban kid. So congrats to Peyton, good kid. Ohio State did a little bit of work into him, trying to get him on campus a couple of times, but nothing ever really came of it.
Hey, Mick, before we let you go, because I know you're a busy man, you got a lot of recruiting stuff to attend to, and then you got a weekend to have. Next week, we talk a lot at the end of the week about visits that have happened. Next week, what are you looking for? Ohio State's got a big week coming up of spring practice. We will have a show to preview Student Appreciation Day, because I think April 5th is such a huge day on the recruiting front. So we'll have a show to preview all of that. But next week, those weekday visits. Is there anything that you're specifically kind of keeping your eye on, or maybe this weekend coming up, these visits? I know you said Sabian Hyder is visiting. Anything else that people should keep an eye on this week? It's going to be over at lettermenrow.com.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't bring it up, but I believe it might be next weekend. Then yeah, it's next weekend. Your big guy, Braylon Womack, will be on campus for his spring visit to Ohio State. Blaine Bradford, both of the top safeties in the 2026 class, they'll be on campus these next 2 weekends. And then there's just a handful of other guys, Justice Fitzpatrick, a couple. We'll released our initial top 100 for the 2027 on 300 for the 2027 class earlier this week at on 3, and I believe there's going to be 5, 6, 7, 8 guys there on campus from that 2027 class at Ohio State this weekend, maybe even more. CJ Givers is another guy we should probably talk about a little bit more. He's going to be visiting Ohio State, another running back out of Atlanta that I think probably falls maybe right around this favorite key territory, but it's somebody that Ohio State would love to get in the class to maybe pair with favor in that class. Simeon Caldwell, the nephew of Sam Walton, he'll be on campus this weekend. And then next week, during the week, probably the biggest one that we should watch for, that'll be Derek Zammit, a 4-star quarterback out of New Jersey. He was the quarterback for Desi Jones, Ohio State commit this year at DePaul Catholic in Wayne, New Jersey. He hasn't visited Ohio State yet. He doesn't have an offer, but this is someone Ohio State and Billy Fessler have been doing a little bit of work on. Alex Gleitman caught up with him to kind of report this visit a couple weeks ago. Steve Wilfon has since confirmed it. So he'll be on campus next week, April 1st. That's not a joke. That's a real visit that's happening. And then you have a couple of guys. Deuce Gerald will be there that same day. Jackson Ford, who I talked about from Malvern Prep, will be there. And then there's a handful of guys coming in there, like you said, for next weekend that we can get into at a later date. One of the other main ones besides Braylon Womack being CJ Sana, who's the Central Ohio linebacker that I think the Buckeyes could probably be close to getting in the class.
Could be on commit watch?
Could be. I think CJ is similar. So the common thread that you will see in our stories and on these videos, folks, is that these kids right now currently believe that they're all going to take their official visits because that's what sounds fun and sounds interesting. But it gets a lot more tiresome in April and March and May when you're getting 6, 7, 8 phone calls a day from college coaches, and your parents are getting 2, 3 phone calls a day from college coaches. And you go, I've already taken a handful of visits. I kind of know which school I like the most. I don't need to take 7 or 8 officials. I think Sam Greer got to that point. Max Riley also had kind of gotten to that point. That's just is what happens to these guys as they get in the spring, especially when you start hearing from head coaches more. So Ohio State went on a run, I believe, last year where they got 4 commitments in 3 days between the New Jersey kids and TJ Alford committing in March. Obviously, we've had 3 commitments this month with the 3 offensive linemen. I think we'll have more in April and May as we get into this. And then we all know how June rolls when it comes to just official visit weekends, guys committing, and then into July. And hopefully this all kind of slows down before August so we can talk about that big Texas matchup, which will be another big recruiting weekend here in a couple months.
You're just previewing everything, Nick. And you're just look at you. I'm just going to let you go. I'm just going to say the next time we do one of these shows next week, I'm just going to say, that's Mick. I'm Spencer. Here's a football for you to buy. Mick, recruiting. And then I'm just going to say, talk for 25 minutes.
It rolls around this head a lot. It rolls around probably more than things at home, if you ask Miss Walker, my wife. But we're still getting work done around the house. We're still getting work done at Lettermen Row. Like we said, guys, you can have all that work that Spencer does, that I do, that Alex Lightman does, Steve Wilfon pops in, Chad Simmons pops in, Pete Nagos will pop in from time to time. Heck, we might even have Ari Wasserman and Andy Staples on the board every now and then. That's that you get all that $1, 7 days, get you in there, get you the VIP subscription, and have it all.
Maybe I don't even need a host then. Mick's got this all figured out, folks. That's what he's doing. He's learning on the fly.
And we're figuring out the mic situation too, guys. We know that the video yesterday after practice was not our best. We'll improve upon that. It's spring. We're working out the kinks. We might not even win a game next fall, but we're still working out our kinks when it comes to podcasting and videos.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. That's why I won't say it better anyway. That's Mick Walker on the other side of your screen. I'm just Spencer Holbrook. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This has been the latest recruiting breakdown from Lettermen Row. Obviously, I'm wearing my Rowback apparel. Go to rowback.com, RHOBACK.com, and then use the code Letterman20 at checkout for a generous 20% off the best fit, best feel on the internet. That's shorts, pants, polos, hoodies, Q-zips. They've got it all over at Rowback. The new Azalea collection has been my favorite. I've already got a couple things from that collection. Just got some more in the mail this week, making Mick jealous every time I wear some Rowback stuff. We still got to get him in to the Rowback stuff. He will realize the best fit, best feel. Until then, go to lettermenrow.com before you go to Rowback. Get your membership over at lettermenrow.com. Like I said, like Mick said, $1 for your first 7 days. That's right, $1 for your first 7 days. We'll see you over at lettermenrow.com. Make sure you like the video below. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll see you back here next week for more recruiting. We'll see you back here at any given time for more Ohio State football coverage, and we'll see you over at lettermenrow.com.